Okay, we're going to go over how to disassemble and maintain the Tippmann A5. What we've got here is my personal marker. Alright, what you got is the longbow stock with the air through. Custom paint job, it's chipping a little bit, I'll work on that. We've got the A5, A2 grip. I put the Lapco bottom line adapter on here for looks. A 32 degrees tack cap. Tactical light. Alright, the 8-inch Lapco big shot shroud, as well as the barrel inside, of course, and then I put on a weaver rail here. So first step you always want to do is make sure you get all your tools. What we're going to use in my installation here is a 1/8 inch Allen wrench, 3/10 Allen wrench, and I need to use a 1/4 inch, and you'll see why. You're going to also want to get a screwdriver. I got the kind with multiple heads. Tri-flow oil. Use any good oil, especially the thick kind is really good. I haven't picked some up yet, but I still got some of this left. So I also will happen to need a 3mm Allen wrench for my tack light here, so we'll go over that in a short time. Other additional tools might be helpful is Teflon tape, also known as plumber's tape, and electrical tape. So then you got Tippmann parts kit. This is good because it's got all that extra stuff in there you might need to rebuild your A5. O-ring pick, basically just a dental pick, and Q-tips, actually. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll get our marker, we'll pull the trigger a couple times, make sure there's no air, make sure of course it's disconnected, and only then, once you've cleared it, you can go ahead and pull your barrel bag off. Alright, so first steps first, we're going to start removing the accessories that we've got. So we'll take my 3mm Allen wrench. I'm going to have to turn the marker over in this case. And we'll just remove this. Okay, once it's loosened up, I can just set that off to the side. Make sure I put my 3mm back. Alright, and all I got to do is take off the shroud. It's a little tough in my case because I had to Dremel out the foregrip to even get it to fit at all. But once it's done, now this I can take and just throw into a sink full of hot water. Yeah, it'll probably rust the screws, so if you don't want to worry about that, don't, but I don't care. I'm going to take my barrel. Usually there's a whole bunch of paint in there, usually in the porting. Again, drop that in a sink full of hot water or a bucket, whatever you got. Then we'll turn the marker upside down. We're going to use the 3/10 inch Allen wrench, which is the same you would get with your marker, and you would just loosen this up. Take the screws out. Never put the screws in water. Set them aside if you can avoid it at all costs. It's a little tight, but it comes off. If there's any pain or anything like that, as a matter of fact there is. Drop that in the water. Okay. Next, I like to take off the cyclone. So I'll take a flat blade screwdriver. You guys can see right here. Actually, go ahead and get that off. You gotta watch out. Right here, there's a small O-ring. As a matter of fact, that's all the size it is. Very, very small. Okay? Now, where you're going to find that is on this tube. Right here. You might actually be able to see it. It's actually around the screw there. Make sure the O-ring stays in place. Once you've got that one side disconnected, go ahead and take your 3/10 again and take off the cyclone retaining bolt right here. Try not to drop your tools. Again, set that aside. Note, if you have an A5, A2 stock, the two bolts are of different length. Okay? So we have the A5, A2 grip bolt and then the cyclone. If you switch these, you won't be able to get the bolt on or the foregrip on at all, and the cyclone will actually jam on you. Make sure you got the right ones which. Once that bolt is removed, you simply pull it straight off. Alright, now this is the cyclone feeder system with the tack cap, and obviously you can have a regular A5 hopper on there instead. Alright. Mine's a little tight, but see my Cyclone video for maintenance of this particular piece. But we're going to set that aside. Don't throw this in the water, please. Use Q-tips or something to clean that stuff out. Otherwise your spring will start to rust, and that's actually not a good thing at all. Okay, now here we have the basic A5 again with the longbow stock. I'm going to start by removing our quick strip pins. We have a couple. Some of them are really, really tight. So you basically just have to push them out. I use a screwdriver. You can yank them out. One thing I forgot to tell you. Right here, with the Spec Ops Air 3 stocks, they have a retaining screw that goes into a special quick strip pin. And right in there, it's threaded. That screw is only about that big. Anyway, once you've got that removed, and you got your tombstone field strip pin removed, hold back the clip there, pull the strip out, or the tombstone out, and now the whole thing can come off as one piece. That's the most simplest way I can tell you to pull that off, as opposed to yanking out these, because actually I can't even pull these out anymore. So we'll set that aside. You want to clean that basically with a moist rag or something of that nature. Don't really put it in water because it'll get in the tubes and it's just not a good thing. Anyway, from the rear we're going to pull out our drive pin and our drive spring. Set that aside. Leave them together. They do come apart, but leave them together. Trust me, this will help you identify which spring is which. Pull out the last pin and you can take off your grip frame. Alright. That's basically how you would put on a new E-grip, because it comes all together, or you have to pull this apart, pull the halves off to install an RT, response trigger. Alright, which leaves us with the basic body. We'll just pull off the rear sight, set that over there. Take again our 1/8 inch hex wrench, loosen them all the screws you can find now that are still here. Alright, and then eventually pull them out. Looks like I missed one. Sometimes these screws get to be a little stubborn and it's a little difficult to get them out, especially if you painted your marker like me. So just turn it over, push them through. Again, do not put these in water. They will rust. Alright. Once you've got the screws removed, your front sight comes right off. This is my sling attachment. So, and then all you got basically is two bodies. Now I have the front velocity adjuster modification, which basically means I have to use a regulator or a rear velocity adjuster. All this screw does is takes a 1/4 inch hex wrench. This is not normal for a stock A5, but I took a screw here, and I forget the part number at Ace, but basically I cut it off so that it's flush with the power tube on the inside, and all it does is just plug up the hole. So and that's the only reason I need the 1/4 inch. And once I've got that done, pretty much everything falls right out, at least as far as the bolt group. Go ahead and assemble this real quick. You have your front bolt, your power tube with the valve inside, and the rear bolt. Now to clean this, of course, you're just going to drop it in some water. When you're ready to oil it, you're going to oil it right here at the O-ring. Okay? Sometimes I'll take a Q-tip and I'll clean out the insides of this stuff. Yeah, look at all that junk. If you really want to get good, take some oil, put it on the Q-tip, then go cleaning. Yeah, that's really good there. So make sure you get that O-ring real good. On the bolt, right here, there's a front O-ring. You want to get that oiled pretty good. About 2 or 3 drops per O-ring, guys, not a whole lot. Alright, I put a lot extra here because it's going to be a while before I play, and I wanted to preserve the O-rings. Alright, there's also some other bolts here. This really is the best thing that you can do, generally speaking, as far as aftermarket bolts. This is the stock. There is not much better. There's a howitzer bolt being sold, and I haven't heard reports on it. So, but the initial ones look good. Alright, the power tube with the valve inside. Alright, this is the tricky one. Alright. If you want to disassemble this, which I don't recommend that you do, you're going to reach in there with your O-ring pick and pull out the O-ring. Okay. It's a bit thinner than a regular O-ring. Again, you must oil that or else you'll have problems. Then out comes the washer. So make sure you get that in the right order back. First the washer, then the O-ring. The O-ring will snap back down into place. Beyond that, which I've actually never removed, fully anyway, is a spring. See if I can get you guys a good close-up of that. Right in there. Okay, that spring goes in there. Inside there is the valve. Alright, so like with a low pressure kit, you actually have to push that valve out, the whole valve, not just the spring and everything else. So sometimes I'll get a I'm not going to do it. Alright, so if I want to replace it, make sure the spring's in there, drop my washer and then my O-ring and place it in there. Alright, then what I need to do is just kind of snap that O-ring down into place, which takes some time and some patience. What I do is I'll snap one side down and I'll kind of roll my Allen wrench over it like so. Usually works pretty well. If you have troubles, let me make sure this is down real quick before I show you. Tamp it down. Okay. If you have troubles installing this, and when your bolt pushes on here, because remember the rear bolt pushes it, and so you're pushing the whole thing through your marker to install it, your washer or your O-ring may come out. The easiest way to prevent that is to oil it up. If it still keeps coming out, replace the O-ring. Anyway, to clean that though, throw it in the water. No problem. Then oil it. Alright. Now we have the basic body of the E5 again. Once all the screws are removed, I'm going to take this off. Here again, we have the new Tombstone by Tippmann. It's got the O-ring right here. You can oil that for ease of installation as well as preservation of the O-ring. And that's what kind of helps keep it from sliding around, whatever. This collar here actually is part of the Lapco shroud. I threw it in the water. I'll show you guys later. See? Rust. Anyway, but that's what actually holds the shroud into place. Normally the Tombstone is just this piece right here with the O-ring. So, again, if it's dirty, you just clean it out by throwing the water or whatever. Okay, now we have the cocking rod along with the cocking spring. Leave that together. Again, if you misplace it with the drive spring, you're going to have a non-functioning marker. Right here, and make sure you guys get a good look at this one. This is the bolt that holds the foregrip on. Okay? Now, notice one side is flat and one side is beveled. The beveled portion goes down. Okay? And this goes right here in that slot. It just sits in place. So it can actually be adjusted front to back. Your foregrip will use that nut. Okay. Right here, you see the Tombstone catch and the Tombstone catch spring. I use the pick, gently pull it out, keep my thumb over it so it doesn't spring because this piece is easily lost. Matter of fact, I just had to replace it yesterday. And pull that out. Notice that it only goes in one way. And the other side has managed to keep our ball latch. Now notice the orientation. Alright, the ball latch, the cup of the latch right here, goes towards the rear of the marker. Alright, what happens is the ball sits in this cup. When it's shot, it just shoots right over it. If you turn this around, that's bad. What'll happen is it'll catch right here, your ball won't get any velocity, your bolt will catch on it, and will actually ruin your O-ring pretty quick. Alright, so make sure it's always that way. Also clean this up. Just use some water and just wipe it off like that. So, no problem. You can also notice here that my internals are actually rather shiny. Alright, this is polished the internals. Alright, I keep these clean by using basically some wet rag or a sponge or something like that. Clean out all in there. These pieces here can be cleaned pretty easily. Again, taking them, throwing them in the hot water. And then all you got is your small parts to work on. This is a good time to start oiling your O-rings. Right in there, again here, and right on there. For general maintenance, on the field anyway, when you don't have time to take your marker apart, as long as you oil it in between games, you can drop a few bits of oil in there. That usually won't cause a problem. And then it'll just kind of cycle through the whole system, basically putting oil where it needs to go. You can also place oil once you remove this hose. You can place some oil here to lube up the piston, and inside here a little bit, not a whole lot, inside there to keep the ratchet moving smoothly. Okay, well that's the basic disassembly of the A5. Here in a couple seconds we're going to go over the reassembly. Hello and welcome back to well, the vid. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start reassembling. So the best place to start here is actually right here at the left receiver half. I'm going to go ahead and place in my ball D10 or ball latch. Remember again, cup to the rear. I'm going to place down the handle retaining bolt, beveled side, excuse me. My tombstone latch. Again, it will only go in one way easily. Take the tombstone latch spring. I'm going to push that in there. Make sure it's good and seated. You don't want to spring it on you. Just do that entirely too easily. Again, make sure that stays in there. Okay. And take the cocking rod and spring. Now, I did a modification here. I just cut a couple of coils off the spring so it would lay down flat. It won't harm the operation of the marker. Just try not to cut off too much. At any rate, once that's all in place, set your left receiver half down. Try not to disturb anything. And I put in the center screw. And a couple of threads. Not too tight because you're going to need it loose pretty quick. Alright. Now from here, I can take in my front sight post. Slide that through. And another receiver screw. About a half turn or so. I'll replace the rest of them. Again, I want to keep everything still a little loose. I just want enough that the screws actually will stay in on their own power. Alright, next we're going to assemble the bolt group. We will take the front bolt, slide it on the power tube tip, and put our bolt rod through the hole there. Right here, there's a little nub that's going to be on top underneath the bolt rod. On the rear bolt into the bolt rod, should kind of all hold together like so. Insert the whole group together, turning the power tube if necessary to get that nub to line up, and the whole thing drops in. From here, I can tighten the rest of these down. If these are too tight, when you try to slide the group in, the bolt group, the possibility you can have that bolt or the power tube valve come apart on you. Anyway, now with mine, I've got my FVA mod. I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there. Tighten it down snugly, but not tightly. You can strip out the power tube, so don't do that if you got my mod. Alright, again, with the new Tipman O-ringed barrel adapter. It's easiest if it's oiled, but it does take some force. And if it doesn't rotate in all the way, you just simply loosen the front two screws here. and continue to tighten. Alright, from here I can pretty much put on my barrel if I choose. Tighten that down. My grip snaps on into place pretty much, and I only want to put in the front retaining pin. Okay. From here I can cock the marker. Be careful not to let everything fall out. Then I want to put in my drive spring and my drive pin. Make sure the marker is cocked. From here, carefully guide it, either the rear stock plate or your buttstock, whatever you got, so that it goes into place. Now, with the top one, I put in a regular quick strip pin. That's alright, it fired now, I'm okay with that. Then I'm going to take my specialty one, remember the threaded quick strip, and I'll place that right here. This is going to be difficult, but I got it through. Okay. Slide our little retaining clip back. Now if this doesn't work, I got one more option for you. It's kind of annoying, but I guarantee it'll work if you followed everything else much more closely. Okay. So far it's good. Now the way to check to see if it's come undone, you can look right down there. Make sure that's clear. If it's not, you'll see the spring or the washer and O-ring. Okay. Now at this point, you've got to put your grip back on into place. Again, put it back here. Take the standard push pin, put it through, and cock the marker. Alright. It really does need to stay cocked, so make sure it doesn't slip down on you, because it needs to stay cocked until the tombstone is in place. So hold the whole thing together, put at least the top one in, and if you can, put the bottom one in. Okay, so I'm going to get all this pushed down real quick. Slide the clip back here, gently slide the tombstone into place until it's latched. That will hold your valve together. Now I'll go ahead and replace my FVA mod again for the third time this week. Take the clip and the small retaining screw, push that through, and basically just tighten the screw down into the threaded push pin. Okay, once you get it threaded, it's pretty easy after that. This retainer holds the tube out of my way. I suggest making sure that it goes up, not down, because this is sharp and it has cut me before. Anyway, once you've got all that together, you can put in the rest of the last push pin right there. Alright. Then what we're going to do is take the cyclone, just 2 fingers and the feeder knob, Just goes in there. Take the shorter screw, remember, shorter screw, into the side body here. Right there. We're going to tighten that down pretty good. Again, flip it back over, and your air hose, one end will go into the feeder piston. Just do about 3 turns or so, and the other end will go right here into the body of the A5. Make sure those O-rings are present and oiled for maximum sealing and durability. Alright, then we can replace our rear sight. Snap it in there, turn it. Okay. For this system, it's best to go ahead and put on your barrel. Followed by the shroud. Now this grip is kind of a pain to get on. What you want to do is put the left side on, like so. Make sure the feeder knob there is good. And you just got to snap it in place. Turn the marker barrel down. This lets the retaining nut fall down to the furthest most point, which is where you want it to be. Take your 3/10 inch Allen wrench and tighten it down. Okay, and again, for my setup, I have my tack light, so I want my 3mm wrench. This is mounted via a Picatinny rail, which all I got to do is just basically put it on and tighten the grip. Replace my hopper, get my sling attachment out of the way. Off safe, should fire, 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 back on safe. Replace the barrel bag, safety first guys, and attach it to the marker somehow. I like to hook it around back here behind this last retaining pin. The final step to any maintenance session is to put away your tools. Trust me, it sucks to lose things. Find a bag, whatever, put them away. Ooh, don't hit the camera. At any rate, there you go. Maintenance of the Tippmann A5 with a couple of modifications.